Who is cutting onions? Oh, the pollen count is high. Oh my God. Hello, Governor. This is Rekkai Steed, the man who always keeps it real. You know me as Newt from the Ville. Welcome to the side quest. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into this thing. Shogun, Season 1, Episode 9. I am still at a loss for words. So I am calling this particular episode When Despair Turns to Triumph. Now the name of the particular episode itself is called Crimson Sky, and if you have not seen it, jump into the description right now and go see the review that Syntell and I have. It is now we've known almost since day one that Lady Mariko's had this quest to unalive herself. She has had despair, and she felt left out, which she was. Ultimately, she was left out of the plan that her father had to take out the crazy Taiko, who was just mad. And because of that, she lived a life with shame and dishonor, because even though the Taiko was terrible, her father taking him out in the way that he did is almost something akin to trying to assassinate our president. You just don't do that. Her father played everything very close to the vest and did not include her on the plan. Toranaga knew what the plan was, and that's why he purposely sent her away to a clan that had no real ties, no real affiliation, and was not beneficial for her, but that was the only way that he saw to keep her safe. And it worked. And it wasn't until the previous week's episode on Shogun that Lord Toranaga filled her in on what her father's hopes for her were. And it was for the first time that she was able to move away from the funk that she had of yearning for death so badly, on top of being with Buntaro, who made her want death even more. But she finally saw the purpose in her still being alive. One of the most hurtful things was her conversation with her son. In her conversation with her son, this time the roles were reversed. He was her, and Lady Mariko was her father. He had no idea what her plan was, and all he could saw was that she was about to do something to leave their lineage in disgrace, further disgrace, and he was embarrassed by her display of aggression and rebelliousness, because everything is about perception. And he even said to her, if you go through with this, then I will no longer be your son. And he even told her that if you plan to do this, you may not be around. You know that they will kill you. And I am planning to be married off to Lord Kiyama's daughter. And Lord Kiyama is one of the Christian regents on the council. Lady Mariko is very much like Toranaga, and let it be known, they are out here playing chess and not checkers. This episode was really her episode, and I don't know much about much, but if anyone needed an Emmy, this episode, her entire acting, this entire series, is Emmy worthy. Yabushige and Blackthorne have this kind of bromance, this kind of thing going on, and they are on a different path. But the one thing that you can never count Yabushige out is he is willing to flip the script, because he is out for himself. And he says that it's about honor and duty, but he is out for himself, and his treachery was to be seen. Lady Mariko gave the wonderful, wonderful display where she was challenged by Lady Ochiba no Kata and gave the sonnet, the opening line, where she talked about the winter remaining calm and the leafless branch. And a lot of people didn't get it. They didn't get it. Ochiba no Kata, she got it. And she even accused Mariko of playing games. And she said, I'm not playing games. She said, the only one person who's able to put all this to stop is you. And the games that you accuse me of. She said something beautiful to Ochiba no Kata. And she said, accepting death isn't surrender. A flower is only a flower because it falls. What does that mean? A flower, while it is beautiful, once it falls, you have appreciation for that flower. And it's one of those things that you get when I got that when watching like Vampire and Lord of the Rings, actually, when the elves talked about being immortal. And it's about appreciating life because life was finite. She said accepting death wasn't surrender. It is a natural part of the life cycle. But to accept your death, to give your death for purpose, for it to have a meaning. That's just like in 300 and other battles where a warrior, a soldier, thinks that there's no greater death than to give their life in battle, fighting for a purpose, for a cause. I understand Lady Mariko, and even though her circumstances are different, I went through a very, very deep depression, even to the point where I didn't understand what depression looked like. I didn't know that there were different types of depression. I thought that depression was I wore all black all day, and I sang emo songs, and I had suicide attempts and things like that. And I thought that that was what depression was. And depression rears its head in very different forms. And I had a different form of depression. And when I came to realize it, my life had fallen apart to a place where it was not too late, but almost too late. I did go to therapy. I'm still in therapy. And not only during a depression, I gained an incredible amount of weight. Absolutely embarrassing. But I have been on a journey to not only find myself and get back to myself, but to shed all the trappings that were part of that depression. And it's not been easy, but I'm on my way back. Now, I say all that because despair can turn to triumph. You celebrate your small wins. You have a roadmap of your successes. That way you can look back and see how far you've come. Mariko understood that. She understood the assignment. Toranaga hipped her to the plan on what not only the death of his son, but the death of Hiramatsu meant to the plan. It was greater than him. And now Mariko had her part to play. And she was willing to play her part, and she did. To the point where it's heartbreaking. And I think I said on last week's show that I anticipated this in some way, and it did not go down at all like I thought it was going to go down, but it did go down, and it was heartbreaking to see. Because on the surface, you might think that this is what she wanted all along, but it's not. Because you could see when she was about to commit seppuku, she was heartbroken. For one, Lord Kiyama didn't show up to second her, so they were going to push her into sin. She's a Christian, So they're going to push her into sin because God don't play that. You don't take yourself out. Not only that, it was big when Blackthorne loved her so much that he was, even though he wanted her to live, he wasn't going to let her go out like that, and he stepped up to second her. But not only that, she had to carry out her duty, and she was willing to do that. When Ishido stepped in and handed her the permits, she was relieved. Even when they were being attacked that night, she was not going to allow herself to be captured. But when she saw the writing on the wall, she knew what she had to do to carry out the plan. I'm going to leave you with this. What is success? Success is the persistence through failure. This now generation, they've heard no before, but the way that they deal with it, the way they cope with it, the way they deal with rejection is not like some of us of an older generation. We're cut from a different cloth. We had a certain resilience and a bounce back to us. No one wants to hear no. No one likes rejection, but we deal with rejection. And those of us who are great hear 100, 1,000 no's before you get to the yes. And that's all it's about, is getting to the yes. The road you avoided to take is where you will find success. This was a powerful episode. And yeah, my eyes sweated a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. It did. Anyway, I'll see you soon. This is Rekkai Steve, Noob from the Ville.